A sudden thud echoed behind me, like something had been slammed violently against the wall. My palms were instantly drenched in a cold sweat. I jumped, my heart hammering against my ribs. I intended to turn and leave, but as my eyes caught the tightly shut door in front of me, a surge of curiosity laced with dread rooted me to the spot. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to press my ear against the wood. Fragments of a conversation drifted out from inside, muffled, yet clear enough to make my scalp go numb. Rose's teacher. I think she's starting to get suspicious. A woman's voice asked, sounding hesitant. Impossible. Another voice cut in immediately, harsher this time. Don't overthink it. We're out of time. We have to move fast before the girl causes any more trouble. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. Move fast? How fast? And more importantly, were they really Rose's biological parents? My mind was a blur. I barely remember how I managed to get away from there. That afternoon, I went to the preschool to pick up my son. The teacher smiled, speaking as if she were relaying the most mundane news. Bob has already been picked up by your husband. Those words hit me like a bolt of lightning. My ears rang and my knees buckled. A wave of ice-cold chills washed down my spine to my very fingertips. I stumbled, pulling out my phone to open my secondary messaging account. Sure enough, a new message from husband stared back at me. How many times has that woman been killed, only to come back to life? I wonder, what if it were this kid instead? The blood in my veins turned to ice. I called John frantically, time and again. No answer. Without thinking, I called the police. At the station, I saw John standing next to an officer with our son. In that moment, my mind went blank. I rushed forward, practically snatching Nam from his arms. I checked him from head to toe, only letting out a shaky breath once I was certain he wasn't hurt. Anna, what's wrong with you? He looked bewildered. I just took him to the park. Why did you call the cops? I'm his father. The officer glanced at me, his expression bordering on disapproval. I pulled Bob close behind me, staring hard at the man in front of me. Are you really my husband? I whispered. And are you really Bob's father? Shock registered on John's face. What are you talking about? Are you feeling okay? I didn't answer. I simply opened my phone and handed the police the entire thread of those bizarre messages. Half an hour later, we left the station in silence, so heavy it was suffocating. Once outside, I couldn't hold it back anymore. I turned to him, my voice a low snarl. Are you insane? If you're writing a script, keep it in your notes. Why on earth would you send that stuff via text? John hung his head, his voice weak. Well, messaging was just more convenient. I let out a cold laugh. How was I supposed to know your file transfer assistant was actually your auto account? Do you have any idea how terrified I was? The scattered pieces in my head began to fall into place. Last night, I locked the bedroom door because I was scared. You tried to get in at midnight. Found it locked. Went to the living room to look for the key. Couldn't find it. And fell asleep on the sofa, right? He remained silent. That silence, strangely enough, didn't make me feel any safer. That evening, we ate out. It was nearly 8 p.m. by the time we got home. I took our son into the bathroom to wash up. Suddenly, he leaned into my ear and whispered, Mom, do you not like Daddy anymore? I froze. Why would you ask that? Bob bit his lip, his voice dropping lower. At the restaurant, I saw you kiss a man. You usually only kiss Daddy. I chuckled, gently patting his shoulder. Silly, that man is your father. No, he's not. The boy looked terrified, darting a glance at the half-open bathroom door before whispering, That man, he isn't my daddy. The smile died on my lips. Logically, they had been together all day. How could he not recognize him? This had never happened before. Involuntarily, I thought of Rose. She said her current parents weren't her real ones. And now my son, saying that man wasn't his father. A chill crept over my entire body. I stared at the bathroom door, a thought echoing in my head that made my heart seize. Could there be a connection between Rose and my son? I frantically opened my phone to check the DNA results from this morning. Probability of paternity greater than 99.9999% biological father-son relationship confirmed. I breathed a sigh of relief, blaming myself for being overly paranoid. Perhaps Rose really did have psychological issues. In the nursery, after tucking Bob in, I prepared to leave. My eyes accidentally caught sight of the chair from last night, the one I had wedged against the door as a weapon. A powerful sense of unease surged within me, leaving me paralyzed. I didn't dare open the door. Right then, my phone vibrated. An unknown number. I hesitated for a few seconds before answering. Hello? The other end only emitted a sharp, grating static, like fingernails scratching a chalkboard. A few seconds later, the call abruptly cut off. I checked my call logs. Nothing. The call I just took didn't exist. Goosebumps broke out all over my skin. At that exact moment, my alt account pinged with a new friend request. Display name, Jack Message. I know the whole truth. The profile picture was pitch black, empty like a deep abyss. As soon as I accepted, he sent a voice recording. I put on my headphones, afraid of waking Bob. A drawn-out, distorted voice played. Rose, look closely. Are we really your parents? Yes. Look closer. Are we truly your parents? Mom, Dad, why are you asking that? Is there anything unusual about us? A deathly silence followed. Then Rose screamed, her voice shattering. Who are you? Who on earth are you? I went cold. Before I could recover, a text popped up. She's gone. Then, a photo. Rose was lying on the ground, eyes wide, blood pooling beneath her. 10 minutes ago, she jumped, dead on impact. If you still have doubts, hide in an enclosed space. When we arrive, I hope you haven't ended up like Rose, dead by accident. Before I could reply, the screen flickered. The conversation vanished. My contact list was empty. The last friend request was from months ago. My skin crawled. At that moment, a drawn-out voice whispered from right behind me. Mom, am I really your son? The voice coming from directly behind me made me freeze solid. I turned around slowly. On the bed, my son was standing there. His eyes were dark, unblinking, staring straight into mine. His lips moved, opening and closing, as if he were practicing a sentence that didn't belong to him. The distorted, elongated sound came again. Mom, am I truly your child? I screamed, staggering back. In that instant, a horrific realization struck me. I had been looking at the wrong target all along. It wasn't my husband. It was my son. He was the one subtly leading me, piece by piece, planting doubts in my head and forcing me to point my suspicions at John. My legs gave out. Mom, am I really your son? He stepped off the bed, one step, slowly, as if intentionally prolonging my terror. I scrambled to my feet, trembling, and bolted for the living room. John, get up. We have to run. I lunged forward, grabbing the arm of John, who was sitting on the sofa, but he didn't react. His body was stiff, sitting perfectly still like a statue. Behind us, my son emerged from the nursery, walking toward us. Mom, am I really your child? I shrieked, nearing a breaking point. John, what's wrong with you? Get up. Suddenly, I noticed something off. My pupils contracted. My teeth began to chatter uncontrollably. John slowly turned his head. The corners of his mouth curled into a terrifying, distorted grin. Wife! Look closely. Am I really your husband? I screamed and lunged to the front door, but it wouldn't open. I twisted the lock frantically. The door remained shut, cold as if it were mocking me. Just then, Jack's message flashed in my mind. Hide in an enclosed space. Like a drowning person grasping at a straw, I grabbed a decorative item from the shoe rack and hurled it at them. Then, I snatched the coat rack, using it to push them back, and bolted into the bathroom, slamming and locking the door. The door shook violently. Boom, boom, boom. Each thud felt like a hammer against my heart. From outside, those familiar yet utterly alien voices called out in that broken, elongated drawl. Mom, am I really your child? Wife, look closely. Am I really your husband? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and called the police. Hello? Hearing a human voice on the other end, I nearly burst into tears. Help me. 2 strangers have broken into my house. Something happened to my husband and son. I'm hiding in the bathroom. They're trying to break the door down. I didn't dare tell the truth. I was afraid that if I hesitated for a second, they'd think I was delusional. Ma'am, the voice responded, we have the basic situation. But before we dispatch officers, we need to confirm one thing. Confirm what? I nearly screamed. The voice on the line suddenly dropped an octave, dragging out every syllable. Ma'am, am I really the person you're looking for? I went stone cold. In a panic, I threw the phone away. But the voice kept coming from the device on the floor, repeating the question over and over. I clutched my head, feeling my consciousness beginning to shatter. I don't know how much time passed before the sounds finally stopped. I shakily picked up the phone. A new friend request notification was on the screen. Jack, Anna, our people are downstairs. What's your status? A faint glimmer of hope flared up. I rushed to send a voice message, recounting everything in a state of total collapse. Seconds later, an audio file was sent back. I tapped to play. Anna, am I really the person you should trust? I screamed in despair. At that exact moment, crash, the bathroom door was kicked open. My husband and son stood there. Mom, am I really your child? Wife, look closely. Am I really your husband? When I regained consciousness, I was still lying in the bathroom. The door was in splinters, but they were gone. In front of me was a rectangular frame, like a screen. Inside, a man and a woman were standing in front of the desk. They didn't notice me. The man plugged something resembling a USB drive into a box. There were already dozens of identical ones inside. I didn't expect a motion card to reach grade A this time. This type will fetch a fortune at auction. The woman laughed, picking up the box. Since it's our first grade A card, shouldn't we celebrate a bit? The man didn't answer. He simply plugged a card into the back of his neck. His face instantly contorted, showing a look of absolute, soul-crushing terror. The woman did the same, then smiled happily, as if she were savoring a delicacy. After a moment, both returned to a blank, expressionless state. The fear of motion really is wonderful. No wonder it's always more expensive than others in the same grade. The woman casually unplugged the card and tossed it into the trash. I still prefer joy. The man placed his hand on a mouse. Enough playing around. Back to work. This time, fear again. The woman nodded, then suddenly frowned. Why do I get the feeling someone is watching us? The man gave a dismissive laugh. It's just a string of code. It doesn't have a consciousness. He clicked the mouse. The frame in front of me flickered, then vanished. Darkness swallowed everything. The next second, I was sitting with my son in the room. My son looked up at me, hesitated for a few seconds, then leaned into my ear and whispered, "Mom, who was that man in the bathroom?"